Hey, welcome back to a really exciting, in my opinion, exciting section on a topic that I personally love as a developer. I also love to teach it. It's fun and it combines a lot of the things we've learned. It's also a little dangerous or sketchy or morally gray. So we'll talk about ethics in a little bit. It's just a fun topic, and that topic is web scraping. So before we actually talk about what that is, what it means, and dive into the code, let's just quickly run through our objectives, as always. There's only a couple. First, we want to define what web scraping actually is, and we'll talk about some of those issues around it. We'll then dive into code and use both the requests module that we've already seen and something called Beautiful Soup, which we haven't seen, and we'll use them together to download and parse HTML. Then we'll explain and go over some common issues with web scraping. So not the same as these issues. These are the ethical issues here. Down here, we're going to talk about some technical problems that can arise when you're scraping. And then finally, we'll talk about some other tools in Python that you can use to kind of bolster your web scrapers, make things better, potentially solve some of these problems. Okay, so those are the objectives. But in this video, we're just going to focus on this first thing, talking about what scraping is, and then identifying some of the big issues around it. Let's begin by just talking about what web scraping actually is, and then why you would potentially do it. So what is scraping? Well, scraping is just the act of writing code in Python or any other language. So it's Java, C, Swift. It doesn't have to be Python. And the idea is to write code that programmatically gets data from a web page. So there's millions of web pages out there. They have data on them, and they're usually in HTML. Sometimes they come in the form of an API where we can get JSON data. In that case, we wouldn't scrape. But if there is no other option and you need data and the only format you can find it in is actually on a web page as HTML for humans to read, we can still write code that is going to be able to scrape the data we want out of all of that complex HTML. So I'll show you an example in a moment of why you would do this. But there's really three main steps. The first is we write Python code to go get a web page, or we might automate it and have it get 1,000 web pages an hour or more. Usually we slow it down so we don't attract suspicion. But the idea is that you get code, or you get HTML back after you request it, and then we have to parse through it and extract the data we want, and then do something with it. Whether we are manipulating the data, we're analyzing the data, we're aggregating it, we're putting it in a database, some sort of file. We just do something with that data. That's the whole idea. We're trying to get data so that we can use it. So that's a high-level overview of what scraping is, but why would you ever need to do that or want to do it? And this is where we start to get into that gray area I mentioned. So why scrape? Well, let's say that you want some data from a website that doesn't provide it to you, doesn't provide an API, an application programming interface. There's no easy way for you to write code to get just the data you want. What you could do is scrape the data off of that web page. For example, here is Craigslist. We are not going to scrape Craigslist. I'll explain why in a moment. But if we wanted to, hypothetically, I wanted to do some analysis of apartment rentals, 2-bedroom apartments in San Francisco, and chart them over time or something. Or I wanted to be able to understand, when rents went up and down over the course of a year. What's the best month historically for me to buy an apartment or to rent an apartment? Is there a time that's cheaper? Is it the holidays, the summer? That sort of thing. To do that, I need the data. And Craigslist doesn't have a nice API, as far as I know, that allows you to do that you can use and just ask for, give me all of your current apartments or give me all the apartment rents from 2015. What we could do instead is write Python and ask that Python script to request this web page. And if this was all that we needed, remember, this is HTML that we're seeing. As humans, it's been displayed for us. But if we view the page source, this is our lovely mess of code we get. All of this comes back, and this is where scraping gets messy. We have to identify where the information is that we want. And let's see if I can find an example. Here's one listing, I believe, all of this. And we have things like the date, we have the title, lovely home with a beautiful garden view. We have the price, $2,500. Here's another one, bath, top floor skylight with parking, $4,095, the neighborhood. And you can see that it's not only stored here, it's stored in a reliable way. So the neighborhood is always in this span. If you haven't seen HTML, this might be a little bit difficult, but you should be able to pick up quick enough to understand that the neighborhood on every result is always wrapped in this tag called span that says class equals result hood. Hood, short for neighborhood. Same thing up here. Here's one. Class equals result hood, and then this is a neighborhood. SF, San Francisco State University / Portola, which it's called Portola, not Portola. I just learned that recently. So there's all these, the information's here. We can request this web page, get all of this data back, and all of this extra crap that we don't want. If all I wanted were the rents, then this is a lot of work, but we can do it. It would work. There's nothing making this HTML is not private. I mean, that's the point, is that we go to it as humans in the browser, we see it. There's nothing stopping our code from going here as well. It takes a little extra work to finesse it and get what we want out of here, but it's absolutely possible. So to wrap that up, you want data from a web page. You want to analyze it. You want to store it. Maybe you want to steal it. This is, like I said, this is the ethical part. And you can't get it otherwise. There is no API. There's no CSV file download. You can't download a database containing all the information. If that's the case, you can scrape to get the data. Instead of manually, you could pay people a lot of money to go and just copy and paste things and put them in a file for you. But if you wanted to do this for every, Craigslist has, I don't know how many cities, but a couple thousand across the US, I'd imagine. If you wanted to get apartment rents in all of those cities every day, you would need a lot of money and an army of online clickers and copiers and pasters. So instead, you can scrape and automate all of it.